So hi, this is Beth Myers, and I'm going to resume the intention of my video. This is video number 3 in my series for my friends. I'm going to post some stuff on YouTube, and today at breakfast, as I'd said in the intro, some of my teammates were with me after a good practice, and we were talking about eating ketogenic at just a regular place. We'd gone to the Waffle House, and I just asked for something, a few things a la carte, some eggs, some bacon, a side salad with the creamiest dressing that I could find. It probably wasn't the most wholesome of ketogenic meals, but it was a real easy example of how you can go anywhere and substitute a couple things, have a really good meal that makes you feel satisfied, lets you hang out with your friends, and anyway, that's all. But my friends asked me if I would do something, maybe a Facebook page, a blog, or something, so to help them with the thought process behind why I am now ketogenic. I've fully adapted. I started following a ketogenic diet at the same time with my partner, and about middle of July, and this is, I think, it's the 23rd of September, and we've both fully adapted. We are both on a competitive dragon boating team, and we planned this appropriately so that we weren't suffering through some of those first few weeks right before a big competition. More to come on that, I'll let you know, but we got a bronze medal, yay! At the Nationals, the U.S. DBA Dragon Boat Nationals, our women's premier team that we're both part of got a bronze medal, and so we have a berth already to go to the Worlds in Hungary next year, so stay tuned for more on that. But anyway, I wanted to let my friends know a little bit, and they asked to see my store list, and so I just thought, hey, I'm going to walk you through unloading the groceries of Whole Foods. I just made a stop, and again, I stocked up. If you didn't catch the first video where I was in my car driving home, my cupboard is bare because the weekend before I took the trip to New Jersey where the national championship was, I evacuated from Hurricane Irma. I live on Harbor Island. You probably can't see there, but there's some windows in the back that have mangroves, and on the other side of those mangroves are shipping channels, which are part of the upper Tampa Bay, and I was supposed to be under 15 feet of water from Hurricane Irma, and I'm very grateful to everyone who said prayers and sent positive vibes, positive thoughts, all the well wishes. We were spared. We had some wind damage from trees and things, but we were totally spared, and I'm really sorry for other people in Florida that had to bear the brunt of that. And I'm even more sorry for my friends and who live in Puerto Rico, my friends that are in the continental U.S. that have family in Puerto Rico, just devastated for Hurricane Maria, and the fact that they're going to be without power for a significant amount of time. Some places are without water, and staying tuned to offer my assistance monetarily, supplies, even going if that's possible. So anyway, I just wanted to make a brief statement about that. But anyway, my Whole Foods trip, hey, coffee there, they had a big sale on it. It's like buy one get one. It's I'm not even going to talk about the kind of coffee I like, but I like to look for some of the different roasts of coffee that impart a certain flavor. I like to brew coffee. I actually have started, since I've been looking at resources for ketogenic diet, been making my own home brew. Very simple. I'm sorry, not home brew. It's cold brew coffee. It uses a little bit more coffee, but it's really simple, and boy, is it a mild, smooth type of coffee brew. I encourage you to try it. You can Google it. As this expands, I'll probably put some how-tos out there, the ones that I've tried, what's not too strong, what's good flavors that I like to try, and the different things that I do to it. Like in the morning, I can make I don't know if I'm supposed to use the term bulletproof, but with some medium chain triglyceride oil and some ghee, whip it up in my Ninja. I'll probably start posting a bunch of stuff on here like that. So anyway, so I stocked up on coffee because I go through it a lot, and I owe a neighbor a bag of coffee because as I was evacuating, the cupboard was bare, and I was like, hey, I'm out, and Amazon didn't deliver my stuff this week. Do you have some coffee to spare? Some of the other things that I have, I guess this is the bag of condiments. I should probably go straight to the refrigerated frozen stuff or whatever. Mayonnaise, some almond butter, pickles. Sodium is super important, so look for some resources on that. Electrolytes. This is going to make you, when you go into ketosis, if you're interested, you are going to be dehydrated. There's just no way around it. And I live in Florida, and every activity I do is outside, and we sweat a lot. So super important that you research and do everything you can to keep your electrolytes up. Pickles and the pickling process, there's a ton of salt in it. Some people actually drink pickle juice. There's other electrolytes you need to be careful of too. Magnesium, calcium, and especially potassium. That's something that I'm going to list some resources for, because that's really kind of scary when you think about supplementing potassium. That's one of those electrolytes. I'm a cardiac nurse. Originally, my nursing background was hands-on in cardiac care, and you don't really want to be messing a whole lot with potassium without having your labs monitored. But there research is out there. If you're getting leg cramps and things like that, when you first start ketosis, it's probably sodium. But so just pour on the sodium. Again, more resources will follow. I'll list some stuff that I've been following, but you don't want to mess around with that, especially when you're out somewhere like this in Florida and you're really sweating. Limes. I like to use limes a lot in stuff. There's a really cool tonic with like vinegar and ginger and cinnamon and lime juice with apple cider vinegar, if I didn't say already, and I'll give some resources for that. I don't know some of these things. It's like a tonic, if you will, that can, some people will purport that it is a fat burner. I don't know. But anyway, some pecans. Don't want to eat tons of this stuff, but, it's a good source of healthy fat, as well as, fiber a little bit in your diet. And that's one cool thing we'll talk about is the carbs in your diet. I'm on a 20 gram-ish, I say ish because I'm not really making sure everything balances out to the nth, if you will. I'm on the rough ratios of the fat, so more to come with details coming right up on that. But I'll put some of this like on my greens with my salad. As you can see here, it's 4 grams of carbohydrates, but 3 of this is fiber. So I'll let you know that's cool because a serving, now here's what you need to be mindful of. It's a 1/4 cup is a serving, but look at that. So it's 4 grams of carbohydrates in that, but 3 of that is fiber. So that's 1 net gram of carbs. So if I'm limiting myself to 20 a day, that's pretty darn cool because this is fairly insignificant. I need to keep a rough estimate of it, but you can add stuff. I'm working with a couple of people, or talking to a couple of people that I'm trying to convince to give this a chance just to even read about, like a physician that's part of my team. I'm on a clinical team with the analytics with my company, and we have a few medical directors. And I have to say, healthcare professionals, we learn stuff in school, and it's really hard to change our opinion on things. We've been there, we've done that, we've studied it, we've passed a lot of tests, and 1 or 2 studies coming out does not make it like a whole guideline change. So I'm having a really hard time convincing her to just open her mind. Definitely thinks that saturated fat is bad, and that fat, Mediterranean, olive oil and that kind of stuff is okay, but certainly not high fat, low carbohydrate, moderate protein. Definitely is not something that she is embracing, even reading anything about. So anyway, that's why I get into some of that stuff. So got me some coconut oil. I got a big vat of it delivered from Amazon last week, and it had sat somewhere, and it looks like water, and it's going back because it's bad. So that's one thing I want to let my friends know. These oils, they're going to go rancid pretty quickly if you don't take care of them the way they say. Do not keep some of these things in the fridge, or it'll be like a brick and you'll not be able to use it. But you need to read the instructions, making sure that you keep it in like a cool, dry place. So that's one thing that I'll say is, certain things will say once you open it needs to be refrigerated. Coconut oil is definitely not. So let's see what else. I have, something too. I'm learning to use a lot more seasoning in my food. I always liked it, but I was simple. Now I got to mix it up a lot. And this is some smoked paprika, as well as macadamia nuts. Sometimes you just need that little crunch. Oh, and that reminds me, I forgot something on my list, the chicharrones, pork skins. Never thought that I liked those. And then now that I've cut out all carbs, like snacky carbs, potato chips, crackers, cookies, anything like that, they really are very interesting and palatable to me now. You can use it for a lot of things. You can use it as breading substitute, like if you're making some sort of mock fried things, or maybe even real fried things. I don't usually fry much stuff, but anyway, chicharrones, which are pork skins, they come in a lot of different flavors. But anyway, macadamia nuts are another little snack with some crunch. Again, it's 4 carbohydrates in a quarter of a cup. 2 grams of that are fiber, so these would be 2 net carbs. So not much in the scheme of things in the day if you're planning just a a little small snack. You probably don't want to eat a ton of these at once, because this little bag at Whole Foods is $10. Macadamia nuts are delicious, but they come, I guess, from Hawaii or somewhere like that, and they are not cheap, but they are delicious, they are rich, and they are good for you. They're high in fat, so it's a great little fat bomb type of a snack that you can have. Better start putting some stuff in the fridge, because I'm meandering around and talking your leg off. So anyway, here's a small bottle of medium chain triglyceride oil. There'll be more resources on this somewhere else on my page or blog or whatever I'm going to be calling this, but this is actually a derivative of coconut oil that is very interesting, and I put it in my coffee, as I said before, with some ghee. And medium chain triglyceride oil is something that your brain can leverage for sharpness and things like that. So I'll make sure I have some resources on that for you to read, and you can make your own determination to see if you want to do that. A word of caution if you've never used it before. Well, first of all, a benefit is it's good. It has good fat in it, and it doesn't really have much flavor, so you just add it to stuff and it gives it a little bit of that creaminess, a little oiliness, richness, I guess is the better word. But you do not want to OD on this stuff. If you have not ever taken it, start with like a teaspoon in coffee or on your food or what have you, because you can get some stomach cramps, and the stomach cramps can give you a little bit of GI distress. And let me just say, if you've taken this and you're feeling a little interesting, and then all of a sudden you feel a little bit of flatulence maybe, you don't want to do a silent one where you're sitting. You want to go to the bathroom. I'll just leave it at that for you to make your own inference from what I'm saying. Anyway, but it's good for you. You just don't want to OD on it. It's one of those things that, if a little's good, a lot is not better. So you're going to have to ease into it. I bought a spaghetti squash, always looking for something. That was one thing at the breakfast table today as we were talking about it. My friends, a lot of different ethnicities that are out there, and a lot of people loving rice, loving noodles, things like that. So I'm going to experiment with spaghetti squash today, but I do have a couple other things that I'll want to talk about that will hopefully help you bridge some of that gap. I have to say, once I've gone ketogenic, things that I love the most in the world, mango as a fruit. I'm a fruit lover of all fruits anyway, but mango I love. Grapes and things like that. You don't want to do those fruits because it's a lot of sugar in those, and it's going to kick you out of ketosis. But it's not the end of the world. There's a lot of other things. And another thing that I miss is beer. I am a craft beer lover of from way back. I enjoy my cocktails, enjoy my craft beers, enjoy my wine. Beer is not something that I have had since I started doing this, but I have to say, because it feels so good, it's really not a huge temptation. So hang in there if you're thinking like, I can't do that because I can't not have beer or something. Don't fret, because let me tell you, there are alternative things out there that you can do. Have a little toddy with your friends and just not overdo it, and you're going to stay in ketosis and you're going to feel great. Lots and lots of greens. Here's some organic spring mix, and I can't impress upon you all organic. Man, they put a lot of crap in our food. So I don't care what the FDA or USDA or whomever it is says about our food and what's safe and what's not. They measure that stuff in what the maximum amount is before you get sick. So not that the whole USDA organic is perfect, but I believe that it's closer to growing your own and knowing what's on your food. Let's hope that these things are really truly certified enough, and that is a fact. So stuff like greens and spinach, and I will let you know that this is this is where your carbohydrates need to come from. And again, you can read some of the stuff on there. This actually, you'd have to, I use my Fitness Pal or just Google stuff to see what the carbs are in something. But just remember, it might say, 5 grams in a cup of something. You're like, what? That girl said that I should get my carbs and vegetables. But then look at the fiber, and you subtract the fiber from the total carbs, and that's your net carbs. And greens, you could pretty much have a salad bowl as big as this, and you'd be just fine with that. Make sure that's where your carbs come from. All right, so I better again get to the frozen and refrigerated stuff too. Some of these things just make my life easier. Some Hearts of Romaine organic, heavy whipping cream. You do not want half and half or milk in your coffee. This is not for me. This is for my significant other, or anything else that I might do. Heavy whipping cream is pretty much all fat. It's what they skim off the top of the milk. Half and half is actually half milk and half cream, and milk is a lot of lactose. So I've read a couple articles that actually are saying that that's sort of like having juice, if you will, because that's a lot of milk sugar that's in that. So keep that in mind. Some cheddar cheese. I try to limit my dairy for the overall. I'm not having a lot of dairy, but I just got turned on to some recipes that you can create some unique little kinds of shells, like taco shell alternatives or pizza crust, using some cheese, and it crisps up. So I'm going to be posting some cool stuff that I try out there. What else do I have in here? Some Parmesan cheese, some feta cheese crumbles. And again, these are some things just to add a little bit of fat, a little bit of flavor. I don't OD on it, making sure that I pick things that are very reasonable in the carbohydrates. Again, these are things that they leverage the fat from the milk. So the total carbs for this blue cheese is under 1 gram. Just do the math, take a look at these things. And again, use them for a little bit of extra flavor in things. Or else it's going to get boring. So I just butter. That's another thing too. Get the grass-fed cream cheese. I've never made anything with cream cheese since I've been doing this, but I heard some really cool things that are out there. And just again, take a peek at the carbohydrates are the biggest thing for me. I'm taking an eyeball. The fat, it's mostly fat as you would expect, and 1 gram of carb. Very cool. Real blue cheese dressing for my salads. Take a look, 0 carbohydrates out there. So when I have a salad, like as I said, I like to have a big bowl of salad. I like to put olive oil on it before I put the dressing, and then I don't have to use as much of the dressing. If the dressing's a little overwhelming, or because it's a dairy product, that way I get the flavor, I get the fat, but I also get a lot of fat from olive oil, a really good fat for you. I've got a bunch of frozen vegetables that have some carbohydrates in them, but again, mostly fiber. So these are a type of green bean that Whole Foods sells frozen. It makes it easy for me. I don't have to wash them and cut them. 5 grams of carbs in 2/3 of a cup, but 2 of that's fiber. Again, I'm not even that worried about the carbohydrates in any of the things. There's another style of green beans that I get. Got some kale, same kind of thing too, just being mindful of which have how many carbs in it. But I want to show you something. If you haven't seen this before, my sister, thank you very much, when we were out of town together, we were at a Trader Joe's that sells this too. Riced cauliflower. Notice too, I get organic as much as possible. Riced cauliflower, Google it, find some recipes. You can really, there's a way to do it in a pan, and it really is a wonderful substitute for rice. I have a lot of friends that come from, as I said, a variety of backgrounds, a lot of Asian backgrounds and that kind of things. Rice is probably the hardest thing for them. That's why I started telling you the story about the beer and the mangoes. For them, it's really rice. But there are some really cool dishes that you can make with the riced cauliflower. And look for more information on that and resources soon. All right, so now I'm going to get into some of the protein. They didn't. This Whole Foods was out of one of the brands of organic, humanely raised bacon. So I'm trying something I don't think I've had before. It's a different brand. it's humanely raised, which is really of utmost importance to me when I have protein. When an animal gave its life, I really want to make sure it wasn't raised and treated inhumanely. I think that's super important. And this claims that it is humanely raised without antibiotics and hormones and not preserved. So I need to get in the fridge real quickly. But that's what I actually chose, is a couple packages of that. It's not cheap, but the whole humanely raised is really important to me as well. I got some, these are frozen. They put it in with the regular meats and stuff. I forgot I had this. But I got some organically raised beef, grass-fed, that were on pasture, and of course non-GMO, because I don't think they could say they were organic if they were GMO, but why not put everything on there? I also got something that I think is really important, and I was talking with my friends today, and I think there's just still, even when people are thinking they want to go ketogenic, there's this misconception that fat is bad. We've been raised our entire lives that fat is bad. Low fat, no fat, reduce the fat. And that's part of this problem, is everybody's hungry because we take the fat out of everything and we add more carbohydrates. And what does that do? It peaks our insulin, because our blood sugar goes up, then our insulin levels go up so that we can use it, and then everything plummets, and then you're hungry again. It's a vicious cycle. Think about, some of the meals that you eat that have the most carbs in it. And it's just classic, I need to eat frequently, I do these things and I'm always hungry. Fat helps you stay full, satiated. When you have a lot of fat, sometimes it can be nauseating if you keep forcing yourself to eat it. And that's what I was saying this morning. The meta message is eat until you're full. You don't need to keep eating because it's on your plate. I know it's hard. I've been known that I've been doing this, is I'll just wrap up a plate of food. I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? I've had such a rich meal, and by rich I just mean, the majority of calories are from fat, moderate protein, very low carb, but again, tons of greens, with my protein source with the right amount of fat in it, so that I'm getting, the right, what I need to stay in ketosis. So, when I'm picking out the meat that I'm going to eat, I do buy the cruelty-free stuff, organic, so that it's healthier for me. And you want the skin, you want the bones, you want the things that add the flavor when you're cooking it, for the most part. I'm not saying you should never have anything boneless or skinless or whatever, but that stuff keeps the flavor. It is the flavor. Oh my gosh, I made some really outstanding, just with the ingredients I had left in my house and something that had thawed out when I came home from the evacuation. I had stuff in a cooler, and after being away from home for 3 days, my proteins were thawing out, and if I couldn't eat it at my friends and they didn't have room in their fridge, I just brought it home with me. So I made this really cool oven fried chicken with some mayonnaise. I'd use some almond flour as like a breading type of thing. Almond flour is really, it's either no carbs or almost no carbs, and I kind of made it up, just baked it, and it was amazing. But it's because it had the skin on it. Think about it, when everything became boneless, skinless, it's really kind of flavorless if you don't do it right? So this way you cook stuff and it's delicious. It's nutritious and nutritious. I got like some pork chops, and I meant to get the kind with the bones, and I don't think I did. It was all mixed in the same bin. But I like it. It adds the flavor. I got a beef chuck shoulder roast, grass-fed, as well as some grass-fed ground beef that's not frozen, so I can make something this week, as well as salmon. I mean, don't forget your fish is a great source of protein. Salmon, wild-caught salmon. Don't buy farmed. Don't buy farmed fish. Don't buy tilapia. Okay, first of all, tilapia is not going to be high enough in fats, but don't buy farmed fish. I don't know how it's going to say it on there, but you put that many fish in an aquarium and there's a lot of poop. They got to have something in there to keep them from getting sick. Buy wild caught. It's just better. It's healthier. It's just what you should do. That probably sounded pretty funny, didn't it? But really, research fish and why you should buy wild caught. Especially, you want to get the kind of fish that are going to be giving you enough fats that are good for you, good for your brain, good for your nervous system. I would be remiss if I did not show you that I bought a lot of eggs. Eggs are easy sources of some protein with fat. The yolks are good. Don't throw away the yolks. While I had evacuated for the hurricane, had an interesting discussion with someone about why they fed their dogs the yolks. And I said, yolks are important. The fat is important. They said, yeah, but I just had my blood work done and my cholesterol levels are up. Like, wow, we need to really start educating people. And it's not to the detriment of this person. We're all thinking that. Physicians are still thinking that. They're old school with the guidelines of the freaking total cholesterol, the HDL, the LDL, without like the fine particles and what does what in the body. And we really have this misconception that eating cholesterol is actually bad. And it is not true. You know, your body makes cholesterol out of the foods that you eat. So, I'm not sure what I just did. There was a message that came in. Oh, this is so funny. That reminds me of, I had someone that interviewed for one of my jobs. I don't even know, is this changing what you see? I don't even know. I might have messed up. So, anyway, I'm pretty funny. And I had someone that did a video interview for a job that I had that's sort of like our recruiter's way of screening them first. And they had a message come in on their computer that they were doing the interview on, and it turned really funny. I'll have to share that with you some other time. But anyway, the eggs, you can see, same thing here. I try to buy cruelty-free, certified humanely raised, free range. It's something that is really... somewhat controversial. Free range might be that they open the door for 1 minute a day or something. So there are things that are pasture raised, free range, what have you. I feel pretty good that this is certified humane and raised and handled. So just make yourself aware of what you're eating and how they treated the animals. Again, I think it's just prudent if we're going to eat a creature that they should be treated humanely. All right, let's just get to the end of this. More pickles, because I think pickles are delicious and crispy and very salty. And again, you need to replace your salt, more salt. We'll talk about that another time. Salt by itself on a regular diet, I'm not a giant proponent of until I know more, but I do know when you're ketogenic, you need salt. You're going to cramp, you're going to do all this stuff because you're dehydrated anyway. If you don't supplement the way the literature shows. This is what's worked. Okay, so I got a ton of little avocados here at Whole Foods. I'm not strict about stuff that you peel. Don't eat the outside. I don't think necessarily has to always be organic. If you can get it and you can afford it, I think it can't hurt. But if you can peel it and not eat any of the outside skin like an avocado, like no one eats an avocado that way, it's okay to not get that. But avocados are a great resource for fat. It's a healthy fat. They're high in fat. If you get some eggs and bacon in the morning out at a restaurant and hey, can you give me a little side of avocado, and you're going to make sure that you get enough fat for the day. I also bought some horseradish. I'm just I don't have a recipe or anything, but I think horseradish is a great way to kind of kick up some spice and stuff. I really like spices and herbs and things like that. And what else do I have here? I'm almost done. Don't worry. This took longer than I thought. Got some white pepper. Again, I'm experimenting with more and more seasonings. I got some pesto. So going to add some basil with some olive oil and a few spices. I could make it myself, but I'm really busy. I know someone says you never are too busy. When I grow my own herbs, I definitely will make my own basil. And then also got some sunflower butter. I've never tried this. One of the guys on YouTube that I listened to some of his stuff had mentioned sunflower butter is just a good little fatty kind of treat, or something that you can put in some things as flavoring. I guess similar to peanut butter. And I wanted to give it a try. It's got 20 grams of fat in 2 tablespoons, which is good when you're trying to do like a keto bomb. This is a lot of calories though, just like anything else. I think I'd mentioned that I got the almond butter. If I didn't, for my significant other per request. Definitely not something that the average person needs to eat a lot of, but when you need a little extra fat, you're maybe needing a little snack. When you have something that's really dense in fat, it's going to satisfy you. You're going to have that craving filled, and it's going to keep you feeling that way for quite a while, versus if you have cookies or crackers and then you're just like as many as you can cram in before you even know it. When you're eating high-fat snacks like that, or like a fat bomb where it's coconut oil and you mix in some, I like to do PB2 powder, which is like a peanut butter powder. We'll talk about that another time. A little dash of salt, maybe some stevia, make it taste a little chocolatey. You can put some coconut flakes in it, make it taste coconutty, like a snack, you know, like an Almond Joy or something like that. And there's just a lot of different things, but you just don't want very much of it because it's so rich. It satisfies you with just a little bit of it. And the last thing is some garlic. And, you know, I do buy organic garlic when I can. I think garlic in food, lots of great, I believe it's antioxidant properties with that, but it's just good flavor, good fresh flavor in things that I'm making. So anyway, that was me, my Whole Foods trip, and just unpacking, and hopefully that gave you a sense for some of the things that I'm thinking of when I'm trying to eat a ketogenic diet. I have not had any trouble staying ketogenic. Again, some of the things that would tempt me aren't that tempting when I'm feeling really satisfied. I can wake up, I can do intermittent fasting. That's another thing that I'll talk about, and why I'm believing the research on that. But when you've had a good high-fat meal or snack, it's really, you wake up and you're not like starving. You're not thinking of what you're going to have. If you just have something you need to be really sharp and you're like, maybe I need a little something, make the bulletproof coffee, or you know, with a little bit of MCT oil, some ghee, maybe a little bit of whipping cream if you feel that you need that whiteness, that, you know, white dairy creaminess or whatever, but just a little bit. Be mindful. You know, getting started, I would just focus more on the level of fat versus limiting the calories. It's kind of hard. Some of my friends are saying, hey, their protein intake's too much. Focus on the fats. Don't worry so much about the calories. Only eat till you're full. So if you're like feeling that you need a certain serving of protein because you work out or whatever, you need to kind of research this some more. It's easier than you think. We've got a lot of thinking and teaching that we've done. I've done it to my patients in the past. I'm really sorry for that. But the research is out and more is coming. So I really encourage you to give this a try. Read and study this yourself. Don't listen to me. Maybe just use me as an influence and do your own research and come to your own conclusions. I've lost some